Well, we're back on track. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on track just like the Liberal Party campaign slogan, which amazingly looks just like the New Zealand Conservative Liberal Party slogan. Funny that, they've chosen the same consultants, as did the Kiwis, as did the Tories in the UK, as did the Brexiteers, Boris Johnson and Skomokio himself. Back on track. Yes, the big parties have selected their misinformation consultants for 2025. The Libs have selected the deep fake experts Topham Gurin for their digital media misinformation campaign. Back on track it is. It's funny how the colours sort of almost the same blue. The italics is the same font. Topham Gurin, creatives really working overtime for that new look. Now, are we to be back on track then? For pork barrelling, 6% interest rates. Are we to be back on track for war with China? Are we to be back on track with another $800 million ballooning in Australia's debt? Is that what we are back on track for? Deficits and debt. Debt and deficits, as they used to say in a previous campaign. And what are Labor doing? Well, Labor, they've signed up their own campaign consultants to attack the Greens. We haven't seen them once they've signed up to attack the Liberals, but they've specifically hired people to attack the Greens. The question is, will they be attacking the Green Teals too? The Green Teals, as the coalition likes to call them. And Sky News. But how does it work? Well, the Conservatives need to shore up support of people under 40 who don't read newspapers or watch the 6 p.m. news bulletin. They have that all covered, that segment of the market of their campaign covered, with News Corporation, Coalition cheerleaders, 9 Entertainment, 7 Kerry Stokes' 7. Labor has in its camp The Guardian, sometimes the ABC too, when they have a break in covering Murdoch shonky second-hand news. Although credit where credit is due, the ABC and SBS did not appear, not that we've seen, to have followed the Herald Sun's mighty story of the week. The Herald Sun global exclusive dick pic splash about Luke Sayers. Luke Sayers, the former PwC boss and Carlton Football Club president, sending lewd messages. To get back on track though, the way it works, money is now flooding into the major party coffers because the election is nearing. Lewd amounts of money, a chunk of it via astroturfing groups. What is astroturfing? Astroturfing is deploying fake community groups, just setting up a fake group and calling it grassroots, and then having a campaign, feigning concern about those poor old mums and dads, and this or that dreadful party policy which was endangering their very existence. The existence of the fashion models in the photographs. Sorry, the true Aussie battlers, the mums and dads. Our favourite of this genre of astroturfing was the shady lobby group which former coalition treasurer Josh Frydenberg pointed to when he claimed that if billionaires had to obey the same rules as everybody else and disclose their financial statements, that was the law for everybody except the billionaires because they had a special exemption grandfathered from the Keating years. Then it was dangerous, said Josh. It was dangerous because that disclosure would mean that kidnappers could run wild and hunt down the families of billionaires. Because, you know, if you're a kidnapper, what do? You go straight to the ASIC database. It's hard to work out if Gina Reinhardt is rich, if she's a billionaire, unless you pay $71 to ASIC to get a copy of her public Form 388H statement, filed once a year, and to do the forensic on Gina's balance sheet. What sort of a kidnapper doesn't read balance sheets? Now we at MWM, loath to crow, we got the laws changed there finally, the billionaire loophole, after much whining on our part. What would be good is if the government, some government, any government, were to implement truth in political advertising laws, because we are set for some beauties in the coming weeks. Mark my words. This week we saw the emergence of a mob called Australians for Prosperity. Who doesn't love prosperity? The Koch brothers in the US love it. The far-right Koch brother billionaire brothers. They set up Americans for Prosperity. Same deal. Tell the middle classes the poor should pay more tax for the billionaires. And the mob, this mob, Australians for Prosperity, AFP, funnily enough, is running hard on what they call Labor's family savings tax. The great big new tax. Stop the big new tax, they cry. And what they're talking about here is the tax on the proposed, it's still very murky, it's nothing concrete, the proposed tax on unrealised gains of assets for people with 3 million or more in super. Ordinary Aussie battlers with their 3 million in super. Check out the glossy pictures of good looking, hard working Aussie battlers, which they appear to have bought from either Shutterstock or Getty Images. These real Aussies, they are at the end of their tether. They are terrified about Labor's attack on people with large superannuation balances, those ordinary Aussie families, the mums and dads, which they plan to pass on to their children. Terrified that they might be taxed. Now, we will do something when we see something concrete on the proposals, and taxing unrealised gains, I would say, needs to be looked at. They don't talk about unrealised losses, of course, or the fact that tax breaks on DIY super are already heading to $50 billion. That's more than the actual bona fide aged care pension for people that need it. $50 billion in cross subsidies, mostly which goes to wealthy, and they use it as a tax shelter to pass on to their children. Anyway, Australians for Prosperity, end the cost of living crisis for billionaires. The scam is that the people behind these astroturfing groups, they're always hard to identify. You certainly can't find out who the actual funders are. They give money to the astroturfing group, which sets up to cry poor about ordinary Australians. Make it look like ordinary Australians are being attacked by terrifying family savings tax. Now, we can tell you who might be funding them, but we'd just be speculating, or we might get kidnapped or get a lewd photograph from Luke Sayers. So what have we got here? Carbon, among the astroturfing groups, we've got Carbon Sense Coalition. We've got CPAC Australia. We've got Liberty Works. We've got Atlas Network Friedman Training Centre, Australian Institute for Progress, Australians for Prosperity. There's another one, the one with Tony Abbott, John Anderson, all those guys. It's all dedicated. They are all dedicated to political ends, to fear-mongering about Labor policy. Please check out our coverage of the big issues on the website. But our victory in this week's Scam of the Week extravaganza is a toss-up. Will it be Peter Dutton for Peter's unfaltering services to fear-mongering? Something every day, every doorstop. If it's not Palestinians, if it's not anti-Semites, or terrorists, or taxes, or economic management, Hamas supporters, or the good old when the wind don't blow and the sun don't shine. It's now the whales. Suddenly Peter is expressing deep concern for the whales. Yes, this week at a doorstop when asked about offshore wind farms, the Illawarra offshore wind farm proposal, Peter told reporters that he had deep concerns about the environment. He's always been big on the environment, Peter. More important even than Peter himself to Peter. We were reminded of our days doing the Sky News business report, looking at these doorstops, which we're going to see a lot of between now and the election, where the little gaggle of reporters assembles and asks their questions to Peter or Albo. It reminds us of the days of when we used to do a Sky News business report, a live cross about 9 p.m. in an evening. So I'd write up the question. I was at News Corp at the time, over at Holt Street on the Israelian newspaper. Used to be the Australian, now the Israelian. I'd send the questions to the News Corp host, go up to the News Corp studio, set up a live cross with Sky, and answer the questions which I'd just sent through to Karen Cho or one of the Sky News hosts. Naturally, I would preface the answer to my own question every time. Once Karen would ask the question with, "Good question, Karen." So it is that Scam of the Week goes to the Press Gallery of Australia for asking questions which the coalition backroom tacticians had just texted to them. Good work, boys and girls. It's your debut. Come on down, Scam of the Week, the Australian Press Gallery, for such imagination, such majestic questioning, such hard questioning. Scam of the Week. Thanks for your support. Please like, share, or comment in the space below and get into the debates. The election's coming up. we're going to get too much election stuff, but we've got to cover it nonetheless. We'll try to drill down, follow the money, and drill down to the truth of the situation for you.